So this is, again, 4 weeks with growth factors. So you can see the dramatic change in this person. We have a lot more pictures to show you that you'll be able to use as well, but nothing else I know have I seen this kind of results in this shorter period of time. So we'll talk a little bit more about why that is as we go through. For those of you who don't know me, I'm William Blatter. I'm the president and CEO of HLCC, which again, we have our brand XTC for those who use that as well. I'm also on the board of directors of U.S. Trichology Institute and the Global Dermatological Institute that trains doctors in trichology. And I'm also an AMCA and a USTI trichologist. I speak all around the world on this. I've spoken in Argentina and all over the place on hair loss, lasers, all that type of thing. Also have trained many, many doctors in Kuwait, England, all over the world, as well as many coming to here from Malaysia and Australia, all over the place. I've also talked on Fox News, ABC News, CBS New Orleans News. I'm featured yearly at Premier Orlando, American Hair Loss Council, and all the other ones. And you can see at the bottom, most of the major magazines I've been in, either in a feature or part of an article or wrote an article for one time or another. So part of why are we talking about this today, and I'm just going to talk about this briefly, but how can you distinguish yourself from the thousands of clinics and the millions of stylists out there? Well, ultimately, one of the ways is knowledge. And one of the ways is unique products and services like the growth factor. You know, how are you distinguishing yourself from everybody else and the people most specifically that you're competing with in your area? People are always looking for new and exciting things. For a long time, laser was that new and exciting thing. It's still core, it's still great. Our products are still great, but growth factors, stem cells, and PRP are the things that people are looking more and more for these days. For you, those who don't know, I am the chairman of the U.S. Trichology Institute, which is now the #1 trichology educator in the world. We have had over 800 graduates in the last 2 years, more than any other program. We offer both online classes and in-room classes. We have a community of about 27,000 followers, and we offer programs to become a trichologist, an associate trichologist, a hair loss practitioner, or a specialist. The most popular by far is the hair loss practitioner, which is a 2-day class. Why do I mention this? Because again, how do you differentiate yourself? Things like growth factors and things like the things that USTI can do, which is giving you a nationally accredited certification from the American Medical Certification Association, the same people that certify EKG techs, medical techs that doctors and hospitals depend on. And when you do that, you do get certificates that you can hang on your wall, both from USTI and AMCA. You get digital badges that can go on your email, your website, your Facebook, lab coat patches, and stuff for the website. So it's just one more way to stay ahead of the curve. For those who have questions on that, we'll steer you to the USTI people, which is a separate company, a separate board of directors. But I just want to mention that as we're talking about things that are going to differentiate you. So there's a major shift going on in hair loss right now. PRP, growth factors, and stem cells are emerging to the mainstream. And how are they emerging? Well, places like Bosley Hair Club are starting to sell and promote it. We're selling it as HLCC, XTC, selling and promoting it worldwide. USTI is educating people and clinics and salons about it. And doctors are out there now selling PRP and growth factors and stem cells. So it's changing, particularly on the higher end. Things like PRP therapy, in particular, and growth factors are going to make a major change in the way people are treating hair loss. And again, it's your choice to be ahead of the curve or behind it. You're the advocates for your patients, so you need to be informed about all the options out there so you can incorporate those and get your education so you can sell those alternatives in an intelligent and a competitive way. It's about being better. Even if your clients still stick with the core, they may find you because you have an alternative that nobody else has. And the clients that you have that want the best of the best treatment and the cutting edge, the people that need more treatment because they have worse hair loss, they need to get the best. Those are going to be the people that are going to incorporate this. And we'll talk more about how to incorporate this into your clinic, salon, or practice. And again, more and more hair loss studios, salons, clinics, and doctors are using these. They're offering microneedling, which we'll talk about with growth factors, PRP, and transplants. As I said, the public awareness is growing. And what's the indication of that? Well, Bosley and Hair Club, owned by Entrance, have incorporated PRP into their facilities and now are starting to promote that. And just like when Hair Club came out to hair replacement people, those in that industry, you know that a lot of people were afraid of it, but what did it do? It made it more mainstream and more people were talking about hair replacement. Same thing is happening here. As these guys crank up their marketing campaigns over the next couple years, you're going to hear more and more about PRP, growth factors, and things like that. So you want to have that competitive advantage and be ahead of the curve, not behind it. And one of the cool things is that PRP, or platelet-rich plasma, which we'll talk a little bit about to help you understand the competition, works because of growth factors. The growth factors are what makes PRP work. And growth factors in PRP are a few hundred, maybe 1,000. The growth factors we're talking about from HLCC are 10,000 or 21,000. So that's an important point. They're paying thousands of dollars for PRP treatment for a few hundred or a few thousand growth factors. You're going to be able to deliver them in a home product, 10,000 growth factors and 21,000 in a professional product. So you're going to be able to provide them with a better product for the same or less money, and it could be significantly less if you want. What's the good news? The good news is though that even though these growth factors are out there and they can be used professionally with microneedling, everybody can use the cosmetic. They're cosmetic products, and they can be used at home, and you can sell the at home because it's a cosmetic. They're not medical products. At home for people for at-home use, okay? Now, again, we'll talk later, and I'll answer some questions for people later regarding whether you can use microneedling in your state. Every state's different. We have people like Terry Pruitt in Texas that's a stylist. She also happens to be a trichologist now. She's gotten the USTI education. She's doing microneedling, getting great results down there as a stylist. Again, some states require a nurse, some an esthetician, some a doctor, some under a doctor. It varies, but everybody can use the cosmetic versions of these, and they don't have to be microneedled. And we'll get into what that means and how that works later. And the other good news is the core still counts. All the things that you guys have been using for years, if you've been working with us, the clinic lasers, the laser bands, helmets, the DHT blockers, the enhanced minoxidils, the growth complexes, the topical DHT blocking, the scalp cleansing, the hair nutrition, that's still the core. So that's still going to be the major treatment for most people. This is going to be a supplement, and in some cases a higher end add-on. In some cases it'll be a higher end alternative or combined with these treatments. And we'll talk more about that and answer some questions about that as we go further into the seminar. So let's talk a little bit about PRP systems and how they work, because this is going to be one of your competitions out there, and it kind of gives you a perspective on the market and how this works. First of all, blood is pulled from the arm, just like a standard blood test. The blood and what's called the future PRP is then prepared and spun in a centrifuge, spins it maybe 10, 15,000 times a minute. The medical PRP systems use a proprietary gel that isolates those growth factors in a tube, something like this, and basically they try to get rid of those red blood cells. Typically, they can't get rid of them all, and that's why PRP can be very painful. And the most recent reason that people stop PRP is because of the pain. That's the most common reason, because you are sticking a needle in their head and putting it in there. So again, some people will numb them beforehand, but you are putting the needle in with those, and the red blood cells tend to be pretty big. So if you don't get them all out, they can be painful. And most good growth factors Mostly the good growth factors stop there. So when we're talking about PRP, you have mostly good growth factors in there. But you also have things like BMP2, which are negative growth factors. BMP2 is the growth factor that tells your hair to stop the anagen or the growth phase. So when you use PRP, you pull out your good growth factors, but you also put out your bad growth factors, things that tell the hair to cycle down and to stop growing and get out of the anagen phase. One of the things that's great about growth factors, when you isolate and just create those proper growth factors, the same that's in your body, you get only the positive growth factors, none of the negative. So what are the pros and cons of PRP? First of all, they can only normally be done by doctors or sometimes by nurses underneath them. They've shown to grow hair for many doctors because of the concentration of a few hundred to a few thousand growth factors. They're used in a lot of fields besides hair loss. How does it work? It's the increase of platelets which help create growth factors. So you have more growth factors. And doctors are charging anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 for 3 to 10 sessions. So anywhere from $300 to $1,000 per session. I know of several doctors in the Atlanta market that are charging $10,000 for their PRP. And that's to give them a few hundred or a few thousand growth factors versus what we're going to talk about today, which is 21,000 growth factors in a treatment. So you're going to have a massive amount more than what they're offering for them for $3,000 to $10,000. That's why I want you to understand the competitive advantage that you do have. So what are growth factors? Growth factors are a naturally occurring substance, a protein capable of stimulating cellular growth, proliferation, healing, and cellular differentiation. So they're basically what they're doing is they're important in regulating the cellular process. And all hair or skin growth starts at the cellular level. They've been used medically and safely for 20 years to treat blood diseases, cancer, and have been strongly associated with wound healing. Today, growth factors have more and more of a role in hair rejuvenation, skin rejuvenation, and cosmetics. For example, Cindy Crawford now has a small amount of epidural growth factor in one of her products that she sells. There are also some other products that are out on the market from some of the other companies out there from skincare. Nothing with the concentration that this has, but there are some others out there. And basically what these growth factors do is they bind to the receptors on the cell surface and they result in an activating cellular proliferation or differentiation. So they tell that cell to break, to split into two cells, to differentiate in some way. If it's the negative BMP2, it would tell it to stop. In this case, one of the things some of these growth factors do is they stop that negative BMP2 growth factor from stopping the anagen or the growth phase so your hair can grow for a longer period of time. And these are now produced genetically in a laboratory and used in biological therapy or cosmetically as they are now. Every growth factor has a special shape exactly like your own body. So these are exact duplicates of what's in your body. And that's important because growth factors only work if, one, they're active, and number two, they're exact duplicates. This is what some of these growth factors look like. You can see here that they have very unique and different shapes to them. But the patents on the exact extracting technology allows these to maintain 99% purity. So in other words, 99% of what's in the bottle maintains its shape, because if it's broken, it doesn't work, and therefore it's efficacious or it works. And what's unique about that is none of the other products out on the market, and there aren't that many, but the ones that are, do not come in a powdered form like this. And again, growth factors are basically a protein. So it's kind of like those of you who know about whey protein or protein shakes that come in powder. Well, you wouldn't, once you make that shake and it's liquid, you're not going to leave it on the counter for 3 days, a month, because it's going to go bad. In powdered form, it's safe, okay? Here, these are kept in the powder form, and you add saline to them and make them active right away. when you need them. Other products that are out in the market will be put into a tube, and that tube will then be sent manufacturing to a distributor, sit in a distributor's warehouse, then go out maybe to a rep that then brings it out, or to a store, or to a doctor who it sits on their shelf. Those growth factors have proven to be not that active. Some of them not active at all. Therefore, they're not very active and they're not very productive. What we're talking about here is 99% purity and 99% working at that moment, and also a massive amount more than any of the other products on the market. Every receptor has its own special shape, as we talked. It's kind of like a key and a lock. And one growth factor has one receptor when they come together. And once they're joined with an electrical signal, they send that electrical signal to the nucleus, tell it to divide, to survive, to retrieve nutrients, to take in blood, all those different things. And again, growth factors provide the cell with the instructions on how to act. Again, 99% pure. A lot of the ones in the market are 40 or 50% or less pure. And this is because of the advanced manufacturing. These growth factors, again, have 10,000 in the take-home serum or 21,000 in the professional. And that compares to your body typically has about 127 nanograms per milliliter. What is that? So epidural growth factor that's in your skin now, you have about 127 nanograms per milliliter. Think of that as a relative term. 127 versus 10,000. 10,000 is a lot more. How can we get the growth we showed in that picture before? Because we're not stimulating the growth 127 times, we're doing it 10,000 times or 21,000 times. It's that activity on that cellular level that allows the growth factors to provide growth that's not normally able to happen. How are they produced? Factor G6 is produced, and same thing with Da Vinci, the skin one we'll talk a little bit about. In a unique patented process, there's only a few places in the world that can actually do this. They take natural organic proteins and they fold them inside of an E. coli bacteria. It's the same way that they make insulin. Most of you are familiar with insulin that diabetics use. That's how they make insulin, is within a E. coli bacteria. Basically what they do is they strip the guts out of an E. coli bacteria, put in the natural organic proteins, and bioengineer those to be exact duplicates of the growth factors that are in your body. And it's important that their growth factors are exact, number one. They're active and pure, number two. And number three, plant growth factors, which you see in Suprex, are not going to work because they're not the exact duplicates of it. And these growth factors are made from naturally occurring organic proteins, nothing else. And they're not from human cells. One of the products out there from one of the big companies, they have a cream out there, and it sells for $300, $400 for a small amount. They are actually coming from human foreskin. They're taking human foreskin cells and multiplying those out to create their growth factors. So those growth factors are coming from human. Not near as safe. They're not as efficacious because they don't last in a liquid form with preservatives and everything else they're putting in it. And again, I'd much rather have something from natural organic proteins than from human foreskin. Kind of ironically, some of the people that we work with that actually have sold or seen that other product happen to mention that they don't like the smell of it. I can think of a couple reasons maybe why. So how do they work? This is exactly like we were talking about here, is this. And what I'm going to do is kind of step back a slide for a second here. And I'm going to show you a video. So this is a video. This is on one of our sites. You can see and take a look at this longer. I'm going to play a little bit of this video for you to give you an idea exactly how growth factors work on that cellular level, because it's important for you to understand that.
Many different types of cells are involved in tissue repair. The flat, light-colored cells are fibroblasts. Early in the healing process, fibroblasts multiply and produce proteins that help to repair the damage. The smaller dark cell fragments between the fibroblasts are platelets. When activated, platelets release a stream of protein messengers called growth factors to stimulate cell growth and tissue repair. To see how a growth factor from a platelet signals a nearby fibroblast cell, we need to swoop close to the rippling fibroblast surface. Fibroblasts, like all your cells, have a fluid outer membrane that regulates the flow of molecules in and out. The gray structures sticking out of the cell membrane are receptors for incoming signals. When the growth factor from the platelet, shown in purple and blue, encounters a matching receptor, it binds to it. A second receptor protein joins in, making the growth factor fit like a key in a lock. The binding of the growth factor causes the receptor to change shape. This change in the protein conducts the signal through the membrane and into the cell's interior, the cytoplasm. You'll see this better from inside the cell. Beneath the cell membrane, you see the gray receptor ends surrounded by pink fibers. These structures help to give the cell its shape and a range of messenger proteins that will carry the signal through the cytoplasm. While active, as shown by the yellow flashes of light, the ends of the receptor interact with the messenger proteins. Now, we'll watch the action again from our position in the cell's cytoplasm. The growth factor binds the receptor proteins outside the cell, drawing the receptor ends together. The signal is transmitted through the cell membrane, and each new protein is activated in turn. If you look closely, you can see the proteins change shape as they become activated with the signal. Each step of the pathway is under tight control to ensure that the correct message is relayed. For example, as this white protein accepts the signal, the blue protein comes in to deactivate the red one. Let's follow the white protein on its journey through the cytoplasm toward the center of the cell.
Okay, so hopefully that helped you understand better how the growth factors work. One of the things I want to point out, if we pop back to here a little bit, as you noticed, the growth factor binding outside to the receptor. And you see on the cellular surface here, all these different receptors. So think of it this way. If right now your body has 127 nanograms of epidural growth factor as example of one, now you have 10,000. So now you have many more of these receptors that will be matching with growth factors that will allow that to get growth that you couldn't normally do. So this is important to understand. How can you grow faster than your normal growth? You can because you're activating this on a cellular level, and you have more receptors being hit with more growth factors, allowing it to divide, split more cells, produce more protein, more collagen, more elastin, depending upon which growth factor it is. And these growth factors have been specifically designed to be the ones that help hair grow in a number of different ways. And we'll talk more about that. This will be available to you. There's a number of videos that we have available so that you can look. And again, this is about 10 minutes. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But the important takeaway here is we're dealing on a cellular level like nothing else we're talking about. And we're doing that in a way because you can, stimulate the hair all you want with laser and minoxidil and stuff and get the maximum growth you can from that hair follicle. But now you're dealing on another level. Your normal maximum is not anymore your normal maximum because you can stimulate it on a cellular level with a cosmetic product. And that's one of the amazing things here that you're doing. So that's the exciting piece here. You're activating it on a cellular level like nothing else that's out there in the market. And this is why the results are like nothing else that's in the market. So let's get back to our presentation here. And again, if we look here, you can just see a little more crude example of the growth factor attaching to the receptor, signaling the nucleus to cell to split and create two. So if this is a hair cell, now you have two hair cells. You do that on a massive amount, you have more hair than you normally would because you have more receptors telling more nucleuses to split to create more hair. If this is a collagen or elastin cell, you're creating more collagen or elastin for the skin. So this is on the most basic level what you're doing. Again, the growth factors do a number of things, but on the most basic level, you're allowing it to signal it to divide into two cells. That equals growth. This can be shown a number of ways. Again, we have a lot of before and after pictures we'll show you, but also two of the major things that create more hair growth here is a couple of things called fibroblasts and keratinocytes. Both of them help create more hair. So if you take a look at those here, you can see beforehand in this slide how many of the fibroblasts are here. Add one growth factor, look at how many more. Add two growth factors, add the epidural growth factor. Or down here, the keratinocyte, again, growth factor is one, another one, again, massively more. So this is on a level where you're putting it in a Petri dish and seeing what is actually happening on a cellular level when you add those growth factors into the mix. And again, they are basically going through there. And the keratinocytes are part of what makes up your epidermis that protects your skin from some of the negative influences and some of the damages, bacteria, viruses, essential for healing of your skin. Again, it has a role within the hair as well. As we go through this, let's talk about specifically the growth factors themselves. Again, you're talking about 99% pure growth factors. Factor G6 is the daily or the consumer serum. It has 10,000 nanograms per milliliter. And this, it does not need any application with a pen. We'll talk about that later. The Factor G6 Professional is a weekly serum, and that will be administered with a microneedler, which we'll talk about a little later. On the skin side, the Da Vinci 10 has 5 growth factors, 10,000 nanograms per milliliter. Again, it is applied directly to the skin, and the Professional Da Vinci is applied with microneedling. We'll talk specifically about how that works as we go a little bit further. This is what some of the products look like, just so you get an idea. These are the saline solutions. You might be able to see a little bit, the little white powder in there. That's the freeze-dried powder that the saline is added to with a syringe here. And these are the home versions, which are very uniquely and nicely packaged. It's actually the sterile powder in the middle, and when you push down on the top, it breaks the barrier and the saline is inside. So it's fresh until the second you decide to use it. You gently roll it. You don't want to shake it because you don't want to break them. And then you can put that on wherever you're applying it, the hair or the face, depending on what you're trying to do. Then you would refrigerate that. Same as after you add the saline here, you would refrigerate it to keep it viable. It's going to be viable at 100% up to 30 days. And very viable up to 60 days as well. We put kits together. This is a microneedler. We'll talk about it, saline, syringes, everything you need. So if you decide to go forward with one of these packages, we have everything together. We've put together and worked with another company, Microneedler, to get everything so you can get one bundle together that gives you everything you need to get started. And we'll talk about those bundles and stuff at the end. All right, so what are the growth factors? Again, they are things that prevent hair loss, improve the appearance of the thickness. The Factor G6 has 6 types of growth factors that are specifically engineered to help the hair. What's the difference? Again, growth factors can be made many ways, but this is a cosmetic sterile powder which is diluted by saline, and then it forms a solution to provide fresh, preserved for these fragile growth factors. The solution's then put on the scalp, and it's typically the professional is done after microneedling. The home can be used the same way. It can be used with a hand roller. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Or it can be used directly on the scalp by itself. The reason is, and we'll talk more about it, is liposomal technology that takes the larger growth factor and kind of folds it in, puts it in like a little ball, and it makes it easier to get through your skin. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. The clinical growth factors contain twice the amount or more than twice the amount of the home ones, so the effects are typically more dramatic in a shorter period of time. The home use serum, again, is an excellent complement to the in-clinic treatment, and it can be used on its own. So this can be an add-on to Restim or MGT, or it can be a replacement for those who are using Hair Boost or Hair Boost Plus or Restim or MGT or XGT. This is can be a complement to those, or an add-on to those, or a replacement depending upon where someone is in the cycle. And the thing that's really cool about these products are, I go to the World Congresses on hair and meet with a lot of the influential people in the world on hair loss at different conventions and congresses and stuff like that. And we looked for something that was the best of the best. What was the new things that were coming out? When I was at the last World Congress, we were looking for what was the newest, the best stuff. And I kept hearing from different people, and I had a lot of conversations with Angela Christianoff, who's the world's number one researcher on hair loss. And she went and she was talking a lot about it, and some of the stuff she was, a lot of other researchers were, about how the growth factors affected the growth. And as they understood more and more about how the hair worked and how different diseases of hair loss worked, how the growth factors were involved in this, signaling the hair and figuring out how to signal the hair with the growth factors to do it. So even when they were talking about other medicines, part of what these other medicines did was affected the growth factors that would then affect the growth of the hair. So that's why we look for it. We found the Factor G6 and Da Vinci. HLCC and XTC has the exclusive rights to these products in the US and Canada, and we're also distributing them worldwide as well. The great thing about these are, though, they do have a long track record. They've been used for 20 years, growth factors in general, but these have actually been used for 6 years, and over 500,000 clinical cases have been treated with no side effects, primarily in Korea and Australia. They were originally created in Korea, and then our partner, who is also distributing our products in Australia now, because once they had these products, they started talking to us. They wanted to bring in the HLCC products as well. They've been using it with great success in Australia. So now we're here and we're bringing them into the US. So these are the 6 different growth factors that are available in the Factor G6. There's IGF-1, which strengthens hair while stimulating the follicle to produce a stronger shaft. KGF-2 stimulates epidural cellular migration and proliferation. BFGF helps blood circulation in the scalp and revitalizes the follicles. The VEGF is hair stimulation through facilitating what's called nutrient feeding. So basically it's telling the cell to feed, bring nutrients in it, and it's called VEG-induced androgenesis, fancy word for nutrient feeding. The delivery of the SCF helps strengthen the hair while it's stimulating the follicle to produce a strong shaft. And then there's Noggin, and Noggin is great because what Noggin does is it does two different things. One, it acts like a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, and it blocks DHT. That's always nice, obviously. But more importantly, it attaches itself to BMP2 and changes shape so it can't get to the hair receptors. What did we talk about before? BMP2 is a negative growth factor to your hair. What BMP2 does is it tells your hair to go out of the growth cycle. Stop the BMP2 with the Noggin. What do? You extend that anagen phase so you can grow faster and you can grow longer. So that's one of the key ingredients in the Factor G6 here as well. So basically, if you're looking at the Factor G6, this is the bottle here. You would be using a syringe to put in the saline here for the professional. Again, you have 21,000 nanograms per milliliter. Basically, what you're going to do is draw from the vial, and you're going to then rub that onto the scalp after it's been microneedle or dermal rolled, and we'll talk about how to do that. Again, it's saying here 2.5 milliliters. It very much is dependent upon the treatment area. You can get anywhere from 2 to 5 treatments, or even more possibly, out of one vial. Think of it this way. This is 5 milliliters when it's produced, because you put 5 mil of saline in with the powder. Right now, when you typically use Restim or Restim Plus or Boost Plus, you're using 1 mil. That typically can do the whole head. So a lot of people may be able to get as many as 5 treatments out of this. Some people will use it only twice because they want a lot of coverage. But again, are you treating just the frontal hairline and maybe a little bit in the back of the head, or do you have a woman with diffuse hair loss that needs the entire head coated very well? So again, it's going to depend upon what you do, but you're going to get a number of uses out of that. Okay, now we're talking about the daily serum. This is the daily serum. Again, it's a very slick box. It has a cap to stop it from pressing down. In the middle, as you get one, you'll see in here, you'll see the sterile powder in the middle. And when you press down and press down on the top here, the saline mixes with the sterile powder in the middle. You gently roll it, and now you've got a viable solution. After you use it this time, then you'll refrigerate it. No refrigeration needed up to then. Again, that still has 6 different ones. It's applied to the scalp. It does not have to use microneedling or a roller. It is, however, twice as effective if you do. It has 10,000 nanograms per milliliter. It can be used in conjunction with a professional. Again, a small amount in your hair, then you repeat it daily. Some people, because of the cost, will do it bi-daily. So it's a boost to you, but not quite as good of a boost. Again, what you're going to notice is fuller, darker looking hair in 4 to 6 weeks if you're using a microneedler. If you're not using a microneedler, it's going to be about twice as long. We'll show you exactly why in a minute. So you don't have to, but you can use a 0.5 milliliter micro roller. Again, a lot of people, when they first hear that, like, hey, I'm not going to put needles in my head. And that was my first thoughts too. But when you actually feel what a 0.5 millimeter roller is, dermal roller, you barely feel it on your hand. So you don't feel it much on your head at all. It's not like you're hurting yourself. And actually what it does as well is it slightly injures the scalp or the face, and it actually starts to create some of your own growth factors coming to the aid of there as well. it's interestingly had an effect in some people to take their gray hair and turn it back to its original color. And again, the noggin is getting rid of that BMP2 that we talked about. Also in the growth factors, you also have 37 nutrients, 21 amino acids, a B vitamin complex, stimulate the metabolism, detoxifying agent, and minerals, which you'll notice some of the same minerals that are in the complete. So while you are doing all this growth factor stimulating, you're also providing all the nutrients, amino acids, minerals, and some of the vitamins that you need. So everything that you need is present to help your hair. So now, besides blocking the DHT topically, besides blocking DHT internally, besides stimulating with minoxidil or blocking the DHT there, you're also stimulating on the cellular level. That's what you're doing with the growth factors. Again, ultimately what you're getting is stronger, thicker looking hair, increasing blood supply, returning pigment, new hair, and basically inhibiting the growth factors, the BMP2, from giving it a negative signal to tell the anagen phase to stop. What results are you going to see? Generally 4 to 6 weeks. If you're using microneedling, a little bit more if you're not. And professionally, typically you're going to do 8 to 10 weeks in a treatment program. You're going to continue your results and get improvement 6 months, sometimes a little bit more than that. Typically you do it on a weekly basis, and then you'll move to a monthly basis for maintenance, or you'll use the home product for the maintenance. Typically you'll do that along with whatever treatment you're currently using. You don't want to take them off of something like Restim or Hair Boost and then put them on this, because you're going to get the negative effects of stopping the minoxidil or stopping the DHT blocking. So this is going to be an add-on to it. And again, a professional version with microneedling is going to take 10 to 30 minutes. Typically it's going to be 15 minutes. Depends again on the area that you're doing. Most patients 8 to 10 sessions, followed by monthly treatments, and then the daily tonic or the home use product is there. Again, 21,000 milligrams per nanoliter of the growth factors with a professional and 10,000 with a home. And again, all 99% pure, both of them are. All right, so this is kind of giving you guys an idea of how they're delivered. So the growth factors tend to be large. So to get them into the skin, you need to be able to get them in. The average opening of the cell is about 70 to 180 nanometers. So if you put the home unit, which is growth factor in a liposomal capsule, through here without microneedling, every opening that's 100 to 180, you will get in. Every opening that's 100 to 70, you will not get in. So if you make that small indent here with the roller, or you use a microneedle pen, you will allow all of those growth factors to go in. The professionals are not microencapsulated, so they require microneedling to go in. They do not use this liposomal technology. So again, you don't have to use it, but it works twice as fast if you do. This is what a microneedling pen does. It basically goes up and down straight and provides little holes that does two things. One, it allows the growth factors to go in. Number two, it creates your own growth factors by that minor injury coming and platelets coming to repair that. So you're pulling in your own natural growth factors. As a matter of fact, many people are using microneedling by itself as a treatment. The growth factors are exponentially better than that. For the skin, and I'll only talk about this briefly, you have the 10,000 and the 21,000. The Da Vinci 21 is the professional. That would be used with microneedling. Again, 21,000 versus 127 normally in your skin. Same thing, you pump it onto your hand. After it's been microneedled, you rub it into the face, wherever you're treating it, whether it's the hand, the face, the neck, the nose, wherever. you can do that. You typically have 10 to 21 treatments out of the bottle, depending on the treatment size. And what you're going to notice is smoother looking skin, tighter looking skin, wrinkle reduction, oil balance improvement. It reduces the time of post laser. So a lot of people are using it after other type of resurfacing, laser resurfacing, microdermabrasion, fractal, any of that stuff. These growth factors help the healing tremendously faster. So if it normally takes 2 days for the red to go away, most people will find it'll go away in a day or less. So you got great healing with those growth factors. You also have the home version, again, 10,000 versus 127. And again, it's used ideally with a roller. The skin product has 5 different growth factors, everything from anti-aging, preventing wrinkles, the degradation of fat, heal scarring. People are using it to heal scars as well as antioxidant, wrinkles. It really helps the elastin, improving the elastin, the collagen, creating new epidural skills, filling that in. People are really getting dramatic results with it. And basically what it's doing is it's coming down here and creating this elastin and collagen down here cells. And as they produce more and more, it fills in the wrinkles because you have more and more of this collagen and elastin here. So again, how are you going to do the professional microneedling? It's going to be, the serums are going to be applied to the face, the hands, the neck, the head, scalp, no matter, depending what you're doing. If you're using the home, it's going to use the liposomal technology. If you're using the growth factors with the microneedling, what you're going to do is you're going to use a microneedling pen, which will then do a minimum of 0.5. Most people will end up at about 1 mil. And again, we can talk individually with you about more about these pens and how they work. A few people will need it down to 1.5 mil. Again, most people will be using 0.5 to 1. And basically, when you see a very minor piece of blood come up, very, very, very minor, you know you've hit the ideal depth. Again, there are classes on microneedling online. There are classes that you can take in person. We can help you some with that as well. It's a pretty basic thing to do. It's not hard to do at all. But again, there are professionals out there that can train you on this as well, if that's what you want to do. As I said, I think one of our people, Cherry Pruitt, took a course on it to go learn it more. Also want to show you that we're not going to go into detail, but there is step-by-step instructions. Remove the cap, get your syringe, put the needle in the saline, withdraw 5 mil, put the needle in the Grosane, dilute with the 5 mil. So step by step, there are instructions that you'll get that'll walk you through everything you need to do. This is what the pen looks like. There's a number of different pens out there. You can buy whatever pen you want from wherever you want. We've provided one that's at a fairly low cost compared to most of the other pens that are out there that are between 1,000 and 3,000. Most of them are 2,000, 1,000. We have one that's available with a number of needles with it already. That's around $800. They're part of your packages. Again, they vary in depth from 0.25 to all the way down to 2 mil. There's not a lot of discomfort with it. Some people will use anesthetic when they're just doing the microneedling without growth factors in the industry. But again, typically you're going to use the growth factors. You're not going to use any anesthetic. You're not going to need to. I've had it done to me myself. I've done it and had it done under my eyelids, my eyelid, my nose, my lips, my forehead, as well as my scalp. It's not a painful thing. Is there a little discomfort? Yes, but it's not something that's going to give any kind of major pain in any way, shape, or form. And again, they'll walk you through the procedures. There's some basic things like you want to have a clean scalp. You don't want to wash it just before. You don't want to blow dry afterwards. Why? They're proteins. You want to allow them to get in there instead of heating them up to a temperature that might kill them. How do they position? Again, they're not replacing existing methods, but they are adding to them. So in conjunction with any other thing that you're doing, laser products, to help those customers longer on the maintenance therapy, to add to the existing things, to use in combination for growth, and to get the best results overall. So we're going to show you a number of before and after here, and note the age of the people, but also note this, the difference. 7 weeks here, 4 weeks, 4 weeks. So you can see some are more dramatic in 4 weeks than another, but that's still a darn good result, and that's only 4 weeks. Again, 4 weeks. An older gentleman, again, a good result, more hair, but not as much. He's older, he's not going to get as dramatic a result. 41-year-old, 4 weeks. 7 weeks. Again, on the hard to grow frontal hairline. 12 weeks. Again, 52, but what a dramatic difference here than here in just 12 weeks. 9 weeks. Another 57-year-old, 7 weeks. Again, 10 weeks, 61. A 43-year-old at 10 weeks. So you can see all different ages, all different sexes. You can have dramatic results in a short period of time. Also on the skin. And what I want to point out on the skin is look at the difference in the wrinkles here and here. How many here? This is after 2 times on a male hand. 2 times. 1 week and then another week. This is on a female hand after 3 times. Again, you don't see the deep lines and wrinkles that you did before. This is on a female's mouth and face. And again, far fewer lines, less deep lines. Again, on a hand. And you can see after 4 weeks and 7 weeks, you get more and more of that filling in with the elastin and collagen, making those lines and wrinkles smaller and smaller. This is after 4 weeks on the neck. 5 weeks on a hand, female. A male hand, 6 weeks. 6 weeks on the arm. Again, 4 weeks on the neck over the course of 30 days. So again, you can use this typically once a week, but sometimes it'll go more than that. People aren't exact, always coming in the same time, the same week. Forehead after 4 weeks, 2 weeks. Again, 4 and 7 weeks. Forehead. So overall, what we want to look at here is the amount of growth that these people have had and the ability that you have to make money with the growth factors. The ones that you're going to use known microneedling with at home, everybody can use those. You can use them directly on the scalp or on the skin without using the microneedling or using the dermal roller, although I highly recommend that you use the roller, you get twice as fast results. Now, results in 8 to 10 weeks is still pretty darn fast without it, but it's much faster with it. And then you have the professional with the Da Vinci that are the microneedles. Some of the options that you've got available, and then we'll talk about and answer some questions here. So not every package starts at this. If you want to get all of 10 of the growth factors professional, which are 140 a piece, of the daily that are 70 a piece, typically sell for 140. 10 of each to get started with both hair and skin, getting your microneedling pen that is this, your 20 needles, those would be used for each treatment, your saline and your syringes, you can do that all at a savings here. Again, we're also going to give you a bonus pack here, a $670 value plus save $500. Again, we know not everybody's going to use the skin, not everybody's going to start this big, but there are options like this. There's an option of just doing 10 of each. So those of you who are serious about it with the skin can go and get 10 vials, 10 vials here of the professional, 10 of the home. They come packaged by 10. Get your microneedling pen, your needles for them, your saline that goes in, and the syringe that puts the saline in the bottle. So again, all you're typically going to do is take this syringe, stick it in this little bottle here of saline, pop the top, put the needle in, push it, take it out, mix it around, put the needle back in, pull out the amount that you want to treat with, take the needle off and apply it to the scalp. Pretty easy after you microneedle, which is just going to be moving this across the head. Again, we'll talk more about that and I'll answer questions for you on that as well, because I know there's going to be some questions about that. You can even start with 5 and 5. So if you want to get started small, be able to do just a professional and some home together, we'll break it on a typically they're going to be selling by 10 at a time, but at least for the time being, we're going to break the boxes down to 5 and 5. So those of you who want to get started less expensively can do that with 5 vials and 5 home. Get you the microneedling pen, 10 needles, syringes, all that stuff. And we're also going to bonus you a couple $100 worth of stuff, either a program or a free laser brush as well. Again, you can start with 5 and 5 of each instead of 10 and 10. Again, you'll save some money, get a bonus. And again, if you're just doing the growth factors, you can start off with that. And you can start off with 5 and 5. So bottom line is we've got packages together for you that have 5 and 5, 5 professional and 5 home of both the hair and the skin, and 10 and 10. So, you know, most people are either going to start off here with this kit, which has got 10 and 10, or here with this kit that's got 5 and 5 to get going to be able to do stuff. Some of you may not feel like you can do microneedling, or you may know it's not available in your state. Then you don't need all this. You can get started here for about $1,000 to get going with your home products. Then you may want some of the rollers as well. So we can show you those as well. That's pretty much what I wanted to go over with everybody today. We're going to answer a lot of questions, but I also want to just leave you with this thought as well before we get into questions, that this is the type of thing that is really new and exciting, and you're not going to have a lot of competition with this for quite a while. And when we go back to, and we look at the kind of dramatic results that we can get, this is why this is exciting. It's going to give you that differentiator. It's going to give you something new and exciting to talk to your existing people about. And it's going to be that differentiator.